Let's go.
Can I announce?
You guys, can you move?
And they prayed for her. Look at the humility of the girl. She knelt down and Mama and Mom prayed for her. I think we should announce
Hello, please, can you give way? Can you give way? Can you give way for now? Please give way.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to specially recognize respectfully the presence of His Excellency, Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Kadi.
I need the cola, I need for the cola. Oh no, I need cola. I want my voice, I'm for it. Yeah, that's the club. Even my body, only you good. What's love? Show no we can do. The cola to my
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I will say she wrote it from the bottom of her heart, and therefore it's a beauty of a book, and I think it will do very well. So once again, I'm honored. Thank you for granting me this honor. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a very strange occasion, but you are going to clap. You know I'm a teacher. Please clap. Not for me. I'm fine. Let us clap for this beautiful girl and her beautiful family, and for this beautiful occasion, and let us clap because we thank God that I was there that day when Morayo launched her book. Thank you.
Put our hands together for our distinguished personality that gave us the keynote address, the former Commissioner for Education, Lagos State, Mrs. Afolabi and TVC.
In other parts of the world. I've been trying to write one for it's different disjointed forms all over the place. So I'm very happy to be here because of what Morayo has done. Putting our thoughts together, because again, that's one thing that we need to always do. I was coming from an event, and a young man engaged me and was talking to me about our country, and he said that, why is it that we cannot do in his word a very good election in this country? And I said, well, define good election for me. So I said, first of all, you are a young man, I want you to be able to process information, because what I notice is that we tend to just make up our minds, and especially you, the young ones, that if I have a different opinion, you don't want to agree, but we can argue this thing out. So I asked him that, so give me a place where you think it's a good election. He said, okay, for example, United Kingdom. I said, okay, so United Kingdom is a parliamentary election. What that means is that they break down election in each constituency, and that's it. That we are the only democracy in the world where the ballot that we use in Lagos is the same ballot that they will use in Karan and Moda. They appeared on that show like I think 3-4 times, and I know the depth of your thoughts, and the fact that you also come up with the soft side of life, not just all the hard issues of life, the soft side of life. Because I saw that 2 days ago you were talking about polygamy. That so we talk about various aspects which are the realities of our life. So I want to congratulate you for sustaining that. You've made yourself the queen of television in Nigeria, and you've sustained that program. And like the former Commissioner for Education said, you are very cultural. You are respectful. You behave well, and I think that's something that a lot of young people should also emulate. So I want to congratulate you for your achievement on television, as a mother, as a wife, to a very handsome man, and of course, as somebody that goes out there every day, and for you to actually comport yourself in such shape. So I want to congratulate you. I've not read the book, but I can assure you I will read it, and I will make sure that I take you on, because I'm sure we will have some areas there we will disagree. So, but when I read it, I will call you up and we will discuss it. But I think that one of the things that is actually missing is ability for people to share their experiences in life. Okay, and I'm sure there are many people here that have done a lot of great things, because we amplify the worst things of our life in Nigeria. And that's why when His Royal Majesty, the 14th Emir of Kano, yesterday or so was talking, he said, we should not only comment when people do wrong things. We should also comment when they do the right things. So I think that was impressive, and that's why it's good to also document those things. So I want to congratulate you for everything you've done, for the book, for the show, and for being a wonderful person that all of us here can come to honor. Thank you very much.
Friend of Morayo Akabasharum. Morayo-Brown, me Akabasharum. Pardon me. And I'm one of our oldest friends, and it's a privilege to be here to read her book and just give you my 2 cents about it. So let me quickly delve into it. So I'll be reading from chapter 1. A foundation remains forever. On the 6th day of July 1980, a pretty baby girl was delivered safely at the famous St. Nicholas Hospital on Lagos Island. I would love to assume that my parents felt joy and relief in the work that day as congratulatory messages flowed in. The story surrounding my birth is quite an interesting one. I was born 12 years after my immediate elder brother, Shegun. Friends have often questioned me about the age gap. Was it because there was a longing for a girl? They wondered why I was born after it seemed like my parents had stopped having children. They already had 3 healthy boys. There was no fairy tale surrounding my arrival, and out of sheer respect and love for my father and the family, my mother waited until I was mature before telling me the story of my birth. She and my father had not had close marital relations for a while. So on that historic night of my conception, she was not totally involved in the process. A log of wood could have given more attention. A few weeks after that night, the silence that held the truth of what had happened gave way. My mother was pregnant, and as a result, my father never wanted that pregnancy because his new wife was not supposed to think or feel they were still having sexual relations with his first wife, my mother. What truly happened was that our golden uncle, Dr. Tunde Goodluck, had just returned from Russia and had a brand new car. He got into an accident that restricted his movement. He was then encouraged to live with my father in Ilesomi in Surulere because our house then was a bungalow. Being the brilliant doctor who had just arrived from overseas, my father evacuated his bedroom for him to recuperate. My dad then moved into my mother's room, though their relationship had become strained. One could say the proximity to my mom was a factor. This development was tough for my parents to accept. Although my mother nursed the desire to have a girl, she did not want to have another child under the wings of her then circumstances. Her relationship with my father had become frosty. Over a decade had passed since her last child. My father was furious on hearing the news and wanted nothing to do with the child. He would have taken that night back if that was an option. But actions have consequences, and I was a consequence of a depressed and emotionally detached mother and a polygamist father. I was born on my mother's birthday, her treasure, her birthday gift, and the greatest compensation God could give a woman with marital difficulties. My father's anger was unabated at my birth, so he refused to attend my naming ceremony. His elder sister, the late Mrs. Adebi, popularly called Mommy Okibo, the late Pat Thompson, Auntie Banke Adebi Arokodari, and my brothers, Dibo, Layi, and Shegun Akabashoro, were there. I'm unsure of who else was there, but I recognize those three people from the photos. The saying that blood is thicker than water is profound. I was about 3 years old when my father first set his eyes on me, and he loved me from the moment. I got lots of love from my father for a child who was initially unwanted. My mother, Mrs. Kudirat Atinuke Akabashoro, Nee Fuja, owned several offices and shops at Akongbon, one of Lagos Island's most commercially thriving spaces. Her father, the late Alhaji Teslim Abiodun Fuja, was the Ààrẹ of Lagos, a successful businessman famous for his damask fashion. My mother inherited her business acumen from him. My mother cared for me greatly, and as a successful businesswoman, she spoilt me silly. She taught me to be humble and considerate towards others, irrespective of who they were. She ensured I had everything I needed and lived a privileged life, while instilling invaluable values and morals in me. My father was a successful lawyer and tireless worker who was present in the lives of my brothers and me, taking full responsibility for our education and welfare. For him, the clear lines between home and work. Most days, he worked till 5 p.m., driving to Yoruba Tennis Club and Atonikon before going home. As a prominent activist, he was always in the news. State security service were always on him during the military regime. News of his arrest or rumors of them searching for him became normal. Admittedly, there were scarier situations where my half-siblings were being stalked in school. As a child of a committed activist, I became politically aware at an early age. Everyone in the house knew of his dislike of General Babangida and the military. My father was a political force. His political views were highly regarded and respected. I still recall the period the iconic MKO Abiola was to run for president. Our house became the meeting point for interested parties to discuss the implications of this move. Amongst other religious and cultural values, our home stood on the foundations of intellectual superiority and scholarliness. A standard that my father set so high, he read the dailies religiously and ensured he initiated me into this ritual. Naturally, I fell in love with reading non-fiction books and novels under his influence. I read authors like Tom Clancy, John Grisham, and he would question me about them afterwards. Those experiences certainly had a strong impact on who I became. As a toddler, I lived in the suburb area of Lagos State called Ilesami before we moved to Bagada when I was about 4 years old. I attended Yaniwura Nursery and Primary School but switched to Corona Primary School, Bagada. Growing up without my brothers, Dibo, Layi, and Shegun, was depressing. I could have given anything to be with them. They left the country when I was 3 years old, and this left me with a feeling of abandonment. I felt like an only child living in a big house, hoping for someone to rescue me from the shackles of loneliness. My greatest desire was to see my brothers, but whenever I was asked my father to see them, he never treated it with the urgency I wanted. For him, I had to be closer to my roots. He wanted all of my brothers back, home too. Attending the elite Corona Primary School meant I had well-traveled friends who visited cities like New York or London for summer holidays. My father did not care much about that. He insisted that we travel either within Nigeria or Africa. With me, he was not planning to make the same mistake he made with my brothers. He always grumbled about the brothers' reluctance to come back home. I also wondered, why did they not come home? Then in 1987, I think, one of my elder brothers, Shegun, came home, and I learned to be careful about what I wished for. I cannot recall the purpose of his visit, but I was super excited about it. Ultimately, the only memorable thing about this trip was the unforgettable beating he dished out to Dotun, my cousin, and me. That day, we begged God to take him back to London with the option of a return. My father was a disciplinarian, but many said he had grown soft by the time I was born. I heard frightening stories of how he dealt with my older siblings, especially Brother Shegun. Considering all that I had heard, I would say I was lucky because I only got about 3 spanking lessons from him, and this was by far a slap in the wrist compared to my numerous transgressions. However, the beating that left a lasting impression on me happened just after his return from Ajashe, a town in the Republic of Benin, my father's second wife's hometown. As a custom, he returned with some local Ajashe biscuits, which I liked, and this trip was not an exception. So that morning, with my father still fatigued from his trip, I asked him if I could have some biscuits. With the assumption that my taste buds yearned for the local Ajashe biscuits only, he granted my wish. Unknown to me, I also had eyes for 2 boxes of McVitie's TVC crackers and shortbread biscuits he came with. This packet was for a friend who had pleaded with my father to help him get them. To my credit, I did not eat the biscuits alone. I hosted a feast in that compound that day. The drivers, stewards, even our neighbors also tasted my generosity. I still remember the aftermath of my transgression. It was my father's row that woke me up the next morning. The way he screamed my name washed any trace of sleep off my face. The disgust his face wore when I told him how disposed of the biscuits was something I'd never seen before. Morayo, are you trying to tell me that you took the entire part and shared it? He was visibly upset but was calm enough to explain the implications of what I had done. Afterwards, he gave me a special kind of whooping that defied explanation in English. My mother lived in Bagada while David lived in Isolo. During the week, I stayed in Bagada with my parents. My father would go to Isolo to stay with Dada, my siblings, Folake and Tunde. I always wanted to go with him, but my mother preferred I stayed with her. Try as he did to ensure the entire system worked efficiently, there were awful lapses. Simply put, he did what he could based on his understanding. There's also the truth that you can only do as much when human emotions are involved. As a child, one of the most painful memories was that anytime my father returned from a trip, he was likely to stop first in Isolo because that house was closest to the airport. What was that meant to a child is that your siblings got to work to pick first from the goodies our father brought home. I hardly shared with anyone, but my heart bled each time my father came home with the leftovers. Sorry, I'm just going to speak to Bill. My time at Corona Primary School ended abruptly. I enrolled for the common entrance in Primary 5 a year earlier than scheduled. My parents said I was getting too tall and needed to leave at Primary 5. Although I passed the common entrance exam to Atlantic Hall, a close friend of my mother suggested I attend Merida Comprehensive instead, which my parents obliged. My time at Merida Comprehensive School had barely begun before it ended. One day, Mrs. Shashebon, a close family friend, visited him, and knowing I attended Corona Primary School, was baffled that my parents did not enroll me in their secondary school. Okay, all right. I think I have to stop now, so I can allow the other guests.
They took me with their children swimming at the Koi Club and to visit other fun places. I felt loved, accepted, and secure with them. Just as it was with any good parent, Mrs. Adeshokon often disciplined me when it was necessary. I remember when I traveled to the Republic of Benin and came back with long braids that ran all the way to my buttocks. Although my mother did not like the hairstyle, she did nothing about it. Feeling like an adult, I waltzed to the Adeshokons, eager to show off my hairstyle. Morayo! What is all this on your head? Mrs. Adeshokon yelled. The question was unsettling, and before I could gather my thoughts and speech, her scissors were already dancing on my hair. In no time, I was back to my recognizable self. I was so upset and stormed out of her house angrily. I would not have admitted this that day, but I am grateful to have had the amazing Mrs. Adeshokon as a guardian. These sort of experiences ensured I evaluated the practicality of my choices. Her reaction made me realize that I was still a child and had no business wearing adult hairstyles. So I want to go quickly I'm jumping some now so that I can take it to the end. There's a part that was very interesting about Christianity. One of the most courageous, page 23, yes. One of the most courageous decisions I ever made was converting to Christianity. Coming from a core Islamic home, I knew the impact of this bombshell, but I had to let someone know. Mommy, I gave my life to Christ. There was a long pause. It was as though my mother had suddenly lost her tongue. When she finally spoke, her response was diplomatic. It's okay, Morayo, but do not tell your father. You know how he feels about this. I felt some relief hearing this from my mother, but little did I know that that was the beginning of a long battle. Growing up as a Muslim was quite fascinating. My mother was devoted and prayed 5 times daily. Her animal skin praying mat was always next to the bed. She started every day with a 5 a.m. prayer. Some mornings, I woke up to her sitting on the mat as she recited her prayers in Arabic. As devoted as she was, she never took the time to teach me the tenets of Islam. Even though I took Islamic lessons as a child, it ultimately counted for nothing as it was not reinforced at home. I knew my entire family was Muslim, but no one made me see the value of it. On the other hand, my father was not the kind of man you went to for spiritual guidance. I never saw him observe his prayers. For him, Islam was nothing but a label. So, I'm going straight to when she told her father. When I broke the news to my mother, page 25, even when I did not expect her to accept my decision with a smile, I knew she was going to be calm about it. On the other side, though she had warned against it, contrary to her better judgment, I decided to tell my father. I was not one to hide things from the people I loved, and it did not seem like a big deal to me at the time. It was a simple switch from a religion and I never connected to another that spoke to my soul. There are no prizes for guessing. My father was infuriated by the decision and my guts. Is that what we sent you to school for? He asked. With my head bowed, I stood before him in silence. From then on, it became an uphill battle of religion between us. Something dramatic happened on one of those weekends I spent with my father at my stepmother's residence. When it was time to leave that Sunday evening, I was nowhere to be found. No one knew I was at a church near my stepmother's house. It was their irresistible praise and worship session that lured me in. When he discovered where I was, losing all sense of decorum, my father barged into the church in the middle of an ongoing service, grabbed me firmly on the wrist and started screaming, "You are lying to my daughter! You are a liar! Jesus has been coming for many years and he still has not come! You are lying!" The service ended abruptly. I knew my father could be fiery, but I did not realize he could become this unhinged. Shocked and dazed, I freed myself from his hold and ran towards the door to flee the embarrassment. On the journey back home, he did not fail to express his disappointment in me. My father was completely against Christianity and did not hide his displeasure. I think I'll leave it here. So get the book and read it. It's an interesting read. Thank you.
I stand here to maintain the protocols of the night. I am one of the fans, the great fans of The View every time. And I've been one of the interview people on that program. We're all very proud of Morayo. And I have been doing my whisperings from here. I believe that when we have an occasion like this, when we have to encourage the young ones coming up, I don't think it is fair to say, I'm launching a book, I'm launching 10 copies, I'm launching 100 copies, without the multiplier effect of the value, which is the money. You know that immediately we have the estate of Morayo. The people they're coming up to say they support her with 5 million. I mean, I was more than too happy. Because when you have a launch like this, it is not enough to just say, where my widow's mite, where I support, she will get whatever we have to give her. But it is better to just shoot. tell her it's 100 million, and then everybody in the room will be warming up and say, yes, I'm giving her 200 million. She's wonderful, she's good, she's laudable, she's everything, she's an icon, she's a queen. Please give her a round of applause. To Morayo, we give everything. I stand here as the chairman of Lasaco Assurance PLC. We are from Lagos State. Lagos State is the beat of everything in Nigeria, the template of everything. So I do not see why I cannot take that exemplary step and celebrate the young one, the one we have all mentored, the role model that the younger ones are looking up to. So from Lasaco Assurance PLC, Morayo, we support you with 3 million.
Thank you very much, my God, we honor you. Now you put your hands together for the chairman Lasaco. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, respectfully, I'd like to also give the microphone to my Excellency.
And congratulations, Morayo. I'm happy being here this evening. I was there when you became a woman, because when you get married, you become a woman. And today, I'm here again to celebrate another milestone, becoming the queen of Talk TV. The prayer that you will be our own Oprah Winfrey, by grace of God, will come to pass. We are very proud of you. Driving your dream, driving your vision. And one thing about your program is that no matter whose us is God, you trash it, you analyze it. And the ladies of the field, God bless you all, because anytime, I like the way they discuss. It's like the lady with the, is she here with the hijab? She's not here this evening. I love the way many of you just analyze, you talk about it. And I pray many of the younger ones, like our sister has said, we take a cue, we watch your program, they will learn a lot from your program. And say congratulations once again for adding a lot of value to what's going on nationally. And I pray we all will not regret what we have on ground and on hand now. Yes, the money now. I'm a politician, so I will not disclose my amount, but definitely I will support my darling, because the mother was very dear to us as well. I knew the mother when I was working at Sudan. The Fujas have been family that I'm well associated with. So congratulations, Morayo, greater heights. God bless you, my dear.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Glory must be to the Lord, for He is worthy of my praise. No man on earth should give glory to himself. All glory must be to the Lord. I'm thankful, I'm elated, and I'm grateful for all who have gathered to launch this book with me. I must recognize the presence of His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Afolabi-Brown, who just left a few moments ago. I'm so grateful. I've been on Governor's matter for a week now. Said Morayo, I can't call the Deputy to come. I'm so grateful, His Excellency, for coming here. I'm grateful to my Chief Launcher, Chief Razak Okoya, who couldn't be here, but graciously sent his brother, Alhaji Tajuddin Okoya. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I appreciate your presence. I don't take it for granted at all. Thank you, Usman, also for being here to read that speech. Thank you very much. To all my family in the Lagos State government, if I start calling now, I won't be able to finish. But everybody that has come from LCDA, all the various
MDAs, all the various parastatals in Lagos State government. Thank you so much for being here. I've worked with some of you. We worked close, and many of you have been on our show. I am so grateful that you took out time to be here. And to my pastors in the building, Pastor Bayo Olubemi and his wife, Pastor Oloboyo and his wife, Pastor Itwa Igodalo, thank you so much for being here. I mean, it was intentional for you to be here. Really, I'm grateful for you. And I know Brown will come. I think my brother is doing both of things generally, so he will still thank everybody. But the reason why I had to make my remarks is because I wanted to use the opportunity to tell you why this book was important to me. You know, lots of queens have gone ahead of me. Queens like Honorable Abina Gagari, queens like Adeswa Uyedikwe, queens like Fumi Yonda, lots of queens have gone ahead of me. And with myself and the ladies are just right behind them, also walking in their footprints. But the reason why this book was important, as my husband said in the opening remark, I practically stripped myself. You hear about my upbringing. Many do not know the kind of struggles I went through as a young child. You hear about my sojourn when I traveled to the US. You hear about my car accidents when God saved my life. When I couldn't walk for 10 months. I have a hole here, I have a hole here, I have a full strip here. I have 12-inch one on my right thigh, I have 2 screws on my knee, and I have 2 screws on my ankle. I have a skull fracture from here all the way to the tip of my head. I have 2 big stars inside here. I collapsed, I was on coma for days. It took me months for therapy. And I was asking God, please let me walk again. Let me walk again, just let me walk again. I didn't even believe I could walk. When I now finally walked, and I had this big scar on my face, I said, Father, okay, now I started walking, but this scar now, I can't be going around with 2 colors, please. You know, let me remove a really big black scar on my face. It took a long time for that scar to go, but eventually it did. But you see, that was a process. When I came back to Nigeria, getting a job was crazy. And eventually, God helped me to the point where I traveled to the US and I got arrested. I slept in jail. It's in the book, you get the details. I was in jail. I came back, and when I called my former boss, Tony Subaru, you know, I was depressed for about a month. After that thing happened, I came back to Nigeria, and I was deported. I was just crying. And one of the first few, the only people that I knew was me, my husband, and my mother. Nobody knew what was happening. And the only person, the first one I called was my former boss, Tony Subaru. The day I called him, the very first thing I said, and I will judge everything from start to finish, what happened. And his only response, congratulations, Morayo. You're going to be great. This only happens to people who are going to be great. And I never forgot that sentence. And I held on to that. That Father, that greatness, you allowed me to go through these pains. I want to see it. And then we went to TVC. Had my own challenges in TVC, I will not lie. Now we have amazing board members and management at TVC. But there was a time of thunder and brimstone. Those of us in TVC, we know. There was a season of hard thunder and brimstone that we had to go through. I went through the process. And you see, these stories are important because many Nigerians refuse to share their stories. We all become 10 steps to become rich, 10 unicorns to become a leader, 5 steps. Forgetting that it's your unique stories that you went through that people will be inspired by. Not the excellence of, oh, it's 5 steps to this, it's 2 steps to that. Those are good stories. But that thing God took you through from start to where you are is the uniqueness of what he's trying to achieve. And wants you, because Nigerian young people need role models. We need role models who are willing to speak up, tell us what happened, how you fell, how you triumphed, how you were cheated, how you robbed, how you became able to be a thief yourself. If you're a politician, yes, I was a thief, but now I have the reason. Tell us the truth. Tell us how you went. We want to learn from your mistakes. And that's what this book does. It strips me out of everything. There's nothing else you can say. It is on the way. So the reason, that's my single thing I would like you to leave this place with. To know that, let us begin. For those of you who are going to write books after this, please know your real stories is what Nigerian young people need. Your real experiences is what we need you to hear. So we can learn from it and we can truly know the depth of the experience God has given us to. With that, I'm going to thank everybody for being here. The party is just about to start. When I was worried about people coming or not coming, God said, Morayo, it's not about who is there or who is not there. It's about my glory. Just relax and enjoy your day. And that's something I want you to do. Enjoy and relax. I'm going to go a break. I'm going to change my clothes now. When I come back, I'm going to be dancing inside. And I'd like you all to dance inside with me. I'm going to be celebrating and thanking God for an amazing 10 years. And I did not do it alone. I did it with other ladies of your view. Tope Makodike, Mariam Longe, Obiajurugo, Yemi, Kula Alikula Kokuti, Nima Akasha Zibi, and other ladies, past and present ladies. It's all part of that show, and I'm grateful to God. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And for those of you that have launched, thank you for your support. Those of you who are still going to launch with me, thank you very much for your support. God bless you all.